Good morning, Rotarians and guests. Welcome to the Rotary Club of Hudson. I'm Ron Strobel, the Sergeant at Arms. Our invocation this morning is by Kelly Brennan. Please stand.
Good morning. May you have enough happiness to keep you sweet, enough trials to keep you strong, enough sorrow to keep you human, enough hope to keep you happy, enough failure to keep you humble, enough success to keep you eager, enough friends to keep you comfort, enough faith and courage in yourself to banish sadness, enough wealth to meet your needs, and one thing more, enough determination to make each day a more wonderful day than the one that was before. May you live to be 100 years and one extra year just to repent. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly. And now to lead us in the pledge and four-way test, David Basil.
Good morning, fellow Rotarians and guests. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And the four-way test of the things we think, say, and do. First, is it the truth? Second, is it fair to all concerned? Third, will it build goodwill and better friendships? Fourth, will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Thank you, David. We have two guests with us this morning. We have Mandy Connolly is back with us. And also Cheryl Sheetsley is a guest of Jenny Fraser. And Mandy's is a guest of Evan. And now our president, Father Joe Boisel.
Good morning, everyone. Hey, a big shout out to all of you who worked at the beer garden. It was a fantastic turnout. We'll have just a minute more about that in a second from Patrick. A few announcements, though. We have a board of directors meeting that will immediately follow this meeting. So anyone's welcome, but if you're on that board of directors, you're more than welcome. Sort of expected to be there. And then also we have a foundation meeting that'll meet on the 31st. So following again the morning meeting. We have oh yeah, Kelly.
There'll be also for those cabin meeting tomorrow at 8 a.m. at the Scout.
There's a cabin meeting tomorrow at 8 a.m. at the cabin itself. At the Scout office?
Yeah, Scout's office.
At Patrick's office, Scout's office. That's on Hudson Drive, yes? Yeah, okay. If you don't know where it is and you want to go, find Patrick. He'll tell you how to get there. All right. Our service project this month again is the Boys and Girls Club of Akron, and they are looking for several items, paper towels, all kinds of snacks that they could store like on the shelves that would have a long shelf life, little individual cereals, the like, video games, some batteries, and of course, cash. So if you're interested in donating to the Boys and Girls Club, that's a way that you can participate in this month's service project. With that, I'm going to give Patrick just a moment to tell us about the beer garden, and then James Field after that will come and have an announcement as well. So Patrick first.
That would be good. Yep. So the beer garden exceeded our expectations in terms of the volume of product that we certainly went through. We sold between Friday and Saturday, 734 brats, 424 hot dogs, and 495 beverages. Had we been able to keep up with volume, we would have sold even more than that. There were approximately 21 brat ticket returns and 10 hot dog returns and 6 beverage returns. So if you saw the volume between 4 and 7 o'clock, we now know what our obstacles are for getting better at it for next year. But our total profit that we'll have to the club is going to be a little in excess of $2,800. That's almost double what we would do at Art on the Green, and it's getting very close to what we normally do in the fall products, our fall popcorn sale and flower sale. So it was a very successful event. Met with the Sister City Club yesterday, some of their leadership. They're excited to have us back. They were thrilled with what we were able to do. And we both know that we both need to improve a little bit so that we can increase the number of volume of brats and hot dogs we had last year. So we thank all of you for there. Thank all of you that stayed a little bit longer than what your shift assignments were. Potentially some have stayed a good portion of Saturday. Some of you stayed a good portion of Friday. We wouldn't have been able to do it without you. Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick. And as James comes, I'm going to thank him also publicly for being a beer runner for, I don't know, a certain priest who was really thirsty. So yeah, well done, you.
Who would imagine you'd sell so many brats at a beer garden? I got to channel my inner Boy Scout by big flames coming up off the grill. Anyway, that's not what I'm here for. So I received a call this week, kind of a last minute call from a person I know, Jen Batten, who's with Global Ties Akron. And she's with a program, I'm going to describe it. They're looking for people who could host 3 business people from South America and Central America this Saturday night. You don't have to, you could order food in, you don't have to make it yourself. It's really, but I'm just going to describe the program because it's an ongoing program and there'll be opportunities down the road for us to be involved. So reading from it, we Global Ties of Akron have a group here on entrepreneurship as an engine of prosperity and stability, small business development from 10 countries in Latin America. Below are the professional objectives, attached are their bios. They are here through the Department of State International Visitor Leadership Program. I'm looking for someone to provide dinner hospitality for 3 of them on Saturday night. We would provide transport there and back, say about 2 hours. We're hosting the guests from Paraguay, Panama, and either Costa Rica, Ecuador, or El Salvador. And they're attached 10 bios on this email. And the objectives of the project are highlight the economic, political, and social factors that influence and encourage the development of small business, entrepreneurship, and innovation in the United States, demonstrate the impact of U.S. small businesses on local, regional, national, and global economies, illustrate the role of government, non-government, public-private partnerships, universities, et cetera, in fostering creation and growth, and examine trends in small business, financing, management, operations, and marketing. And so this group that I'm looking at is pretty expert on all these things. So if you have the capacity to be able to host them, I did send the email to some people, but I'll forward it. It has all the details in the bios. But I wanted to talk about this also because this Global Ties hosts people in education, in various industries, in all sorts of things. And so I've not been involved yet, but it just sounds really fascinating, this ability to have people come.
Was she specific about whether you had to take all 3 or can you do three?
I think they're looking for all 3. Yeah. But she said you don't have, she, for example, says she never makes the dinner. She always orders.
Yeah, I think.
Well, I can ask.
You could ask because I'm pretty sure that if there were 3 people, who could each take one, that would be possible.
Yeah,
because
I really don't feel
I've
comfortable
felt-
speaking on behalf of
No,
her organization.
She sometimes forgets to specify, and I've been involved with that program.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah,
that may,
we had 10 Serbs
Okay, no, so, no, I got it. So, I'll send the inquiry, but, so it may be possible that we get 3 people each doing one. Anyway, thank you very much for the time, but, there'll probably, be more of these in different areas, and it really just sounds fascinating. Thank you.
One last shout out, and this goes to Catherine Sign's granddaughters, who, boy, they worked with us at the beer garden selling brats, and they were fantastic. I made them do a cold water challenge where they both had to stick their hand in a freezing tub of water, and the first one that pulled it out lost, and I gave the other one $10. So it was they were great troopers, a lot of fun. So yeah, we send our gratitude from the whole club to those young ladies. And they had a good time, yes. All right, Jim Ahern, come and introduce our guests.
That sounds a little like torture. I'm not sure. Good morning. I don't know anybody else that was working Friday night and Saturday night. When you got home, how many took a shower before you went to bed? Oh my gosh. So somebody next to me was going, oh man. Okay. A lot of us are familiar with Hattie Larlham. We've had a relationship in terms of the beneficiary of a gala. And I think this was 5 or 6 years ago. We had I think it was a meeting where we all got invited for a tour. And it opened my eyes to something that was pretty special, what they do there. And it's been going on a while. And I'm going to be glad to hear from Stephen Colecchi, who is, well, a little bit about Hattie Larlham that was given to me. Because they believe life is sacred, Hattie Larlham enhances the quality of life for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities and their families through the commitment to comfort, joy, and achievement. Stephen Colecchi is Hattie Larlham's Chief Executive Officer. He brings to Hattie Larlham 30 years of transformational and effective organizational leadership experience, primarily in healthcare. He brings that to that position. A lifetime resident of Northeastern Ohio, he has a deep understanding and appreciation of Hattie Larlham's high quality programs and services. The skills and experiences he brings to the role offer an invaluable complement to Hattie Larlham's executive leadership team. So with a warm Rotary welcome, please welcome up Stephen. You go by Steve or Stephen? Steve Colecchi.
Thank you for that introduction. Good morning. So I do have a PowerPoint I'll try to go through, and then hopefully we'll have some time for any of your questions. So as Jim indicated, my name is Steve Colecchi. I have the privilege of serving as CEO of Hattie Larlham. Hattie Larlham is a not-for-profit organization. We are based in Manaway in Portage County. And a little later on in my presentation, I'll give you a little bit more detail as to exactly our coverage and the types of programs that we offer. I always welcome the opportunity to speak to community leaders like yourselves. We need to do a better job at Hattie Larlham of getting our message out to the community, and I've done a lot of these recently. Without any question, the last couple of years because of COVID have been very challenging to us at Hattie, and I'll talk about some of those challenges later. Certainly thank the Hudson Rotary Club for your past support of Hattie. We appreciate that very much. We are very fortunate to have the support of many organizations across Northeast and Central Ohio, and hopefully we can re-engage in the future. Before I start talking about Hattie Larlham specifically, I find it useful to give an overview of the DD services program in Ohio, so folks have an understanding of kind of what we're all about. So the next slide, please. The Ohio Department of Developmental Disabilities is responsible for the regulatory oversight of Ohio's 88 county boards of developmental disabilities. So if you did not know that, every county in Ohio has a board of developmental disabilities. The county board is the primary contact for individuals with developmental disabilities and their families. There are approximately 250,000 individuals across Ohio who receive services through their local county boards. The county board really has two primary functions: determining eligibility for services. The vast majority, 98, 99% of the individuals that we provide services to are Medicaid eligible individuals. We do have a couple self-pay individuals, but everyone that the majority of the folks we provide services to, it's paid through by the Medicaid program. And then the county board is also responsible for service coordination. So basically the county board, through their SSAs, their services and support administrators, link the person served, the person with disabilities, with the providers such as Hattie Larlham. And you'll note that I use the term person served. They're not patients, they're not clients. The buzzword in our industry is person served. Next slide. The program and service options for individuals with developmental disabilities really cover two major categories. One is admission to an intermediate care facility. So our facility in Manaway on Diagonal Road that some of you may have toured is an ICF, or an intermediate care facility. But the other option is to enroll individuals in a home or community-based programs and services. So the goal is always to place the individual in the least restrictive environment so that they can succeed and be successful in their lives. There's been a major push across the DD world the last 5-10 years to move folks out of intermediate care facilities, out of the state developmental centers into community-based settings. And I'll talk about that here in a second. So the goal is to always place that individual in a setting in which they have the chance to be the most successful. Slide. So what is an intermediate care facility? It is a long-term care facility which provides health-related nursing and supportive services to individuals who do not require a degree of care or treatment given in a hospital or a skilled nursing facility, but who, because of their mental or physical condition, require care and services which are greater than custodial care. So if you look at kind of the hierarchy, you've got the acute care hospitals, Summa Health System, Cleveland Clinic, Akron General, Western Reserve. In a former life, I was CEO of Robinson Memorial Hospital, now UH Portage Medical Center. So that's the acute inpatient care. And then you have skilled nursing facilities. I'm sure you're familiar with those. And so intermediate care facilities are similar to the skilled nursing facilities. What is unique about our location, our center in Manaway, is we also provide high-level medical services. We have a full-time, not a full-time, but we have a part-time medical director. We have advanced practice nurses. So in addition to the individuals who live at our center in Manaway having intellectual or developmental disabilities, all of them have significant medical complications that we're also providing their care for. So as I just said, our center in Manaway is an intermediate care facility. The next slide. So ICFs in Ohio are licensed by the state. They are operated by a specific provider at a specific location. And the Ohio Department of Health does certify the facility as meeting the requirements for federal funding. So Medicaid is primarily a federal program that's then administered at the state level. We are responsible at the ICFs for all aspects of the care of the individual, including their financial matters, the transportation, their habilitation, medical needs. If an individual is 22 years or younger, we're also required to school them. So we do actually have a school on site. It's operated by the Educational Services Center out of Northeast Ohio. And what's unique about ICFs is we are still reimbursed on what's called a per diem basis or a cost-based reimbursement system. So every ICF in Ohio is paid a different amount. It's based on our actual expenses up to a certain cap. And those expenses are grouped into different categories. So direct care, indirect care, capital costs. It was the old way they used to pay hospitals. They did away with that a long time ago. ICFs are probably the last type of facility that are still paid that way in Ohio. That'll probably go away soon also, because there's always talks about reforming that program. Next slide. So that's the ICF part of it. The other part of it is home and community-based programs. And these would include family homes, group homes, shared living. So there may be a group home in your neighborhood where individuals who reside there have an intellectual or developmental disability. And the provider, like Hattie Larlham, may be responsible to provide support and services to the individuals in that home. We have private duty home care. So we do have nurses that go into individuals' homes who may still live with mom and dad or another family member to meet their needs. And what the county board does is they allocate or allow so many hours a day or a week for care and services to that individual. We also have adult day programs. We actually have 7 of these across Northeast Ohio and in Columbus. And these are programs that operate Monday through Friday, 9 to 3, 9 to 4. So individuals go to the central location, and then from there, they may go out on trips to a museum. They might go bowling, go shopping, educational programs. Again, trying to get those folks out in the community in the least restrictive manner possible. We also have a very active employment vocational training program. I'll talk about that here in a second. And then respite care. One of the challenges that we face in our industry is, many individuals with disabilities still live at home with mom and dad. Mom and dad are now 65, 75, older. It's a challenge for mom and dad to take care of those folks, or even younger families where parents want to go on a vacation and it's really not able to bring their disabled child with them. So short-term respite care, we will accept that individual at our center so mom and dad can go on vacation for a week or 2. Or we just dealt with a case a couple months ago. Mom was a primary caregiver. She needed to go in the hospital for hip surgery. So the child moved in with us for about 30 days to help them get through that hurdle. And that's what the respite care program is all about. Next slide. So you've heard me use the term intellectual disabilities and also developmental disabilities. Again, I'm not a physician, but just to give a brief explanation. So individuals with intellectual disabilities are known for their below average cognitive skills, and many experience limitations in the ability to adapt and carry on everyday activities like self-care, communication, and socializing. Autism is an example of an intellectual disability, and it does cover the whole gamut. You could have folks with mild cases of intellectual disability, folks with very severe cases. Individuals with developmental disabilities also have chronic disabilities that can be cognitive, physical, and in many cases, a combination of the two. So cerebral palsy is an example of that. So we do provide services at our center in Manaway to individuals with both intellectual and developmental disabilities. And as I indicated, many of them also have significant medical issues. I'll talk about that in a second. We have 124 individuals who live with us at our center in Manaway. We also own 5 other ICF 8-bedroom homes. 2 are in Solon on Aurora Road. 2 are in Oakwood Village on Tyrone Road. And 1 is in Green, Ohio on Butler Road. These are 8-bedroom homes or 8 resident homes. And again, it looks like any other home in the neighborhood, but those are licensed as integrated care facilities. The most medically challenged individuals do reside with us in Manaway. As I said, 124. 100% of the residents in Manaway are incontinent. All but 2 are nonverbal. We have about 30 individuals who are blind. All but 3 are non-ambulatory. 3 can, so everybody has their own wheelchair. The 3 that are ambulatory, I say ambulatory, they have to use a wheelchair, but they can drive their wheelchairs. You got to be careful because a couple of them will run you over. They like to scoot around the building as much as they can. 90% are fed mostly through a PEG tube, a feeding tube of some sort. We have 19 individuals on vents, so they are vent dependent. So that's just an example of the medical complications that we deal with at the center in Manaway. Next slide. So let's talk a little bit more specifically about Hattie Larlham. Our mission, and you already heard this in Jim's introduction, because we believe life is sacred. We enhance the quality of life for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities and their families. And their families is an important part of that through our commitment to comfort, joy, and achievement. So you'll hear comfort, joy, and achievement a lot at Hattie. I did say families are important. They're obviously an important part of this, but that's a blessing in many cases, but it's also sad in some cases. So 124 individuals at our center in Manaway. About a third of the family is very, very active, where mom or dad or grandma or brother or sisters, will visit frequently. Not so much during COVID. We are back open to visitation now. About a third of the residents, the individuals, the family contact is limited, maybe once or twice a year. The other third, there's really no family involvement whatsoever. Those individuals are usually, their guardianship is either the county Board of Job and Family Services or some other individual. So that part of it obviously is pretty sad. But we do the best we can in making sure that everyone who lives at our center in Manaway is part of our Hattie family. Next slide. So Hattie Larlham actually started in 1961. There actually was a person called or named Hattie Larlham. Mrs. Larlham actually was a nurse at Robinson Moore Hospital in Ravenna. She was an OB nurse, and a young mother delivered a baby with a disability. The mom was single, really had no family support, confided in Hattie that she didn't really know what to do, didn't know whether to place a baby for adoption. There was no way she could take care of the baby. So think back in 1961, this is before the Medicaid program. This is before any formal state Department of Developmental Disabilities. Mrs. Larlham went home, talked about that to her family, and they decided to bring the baby into their farmhouse on Diagonal Road. And that's really how Hattie Larlham got started. Word got out, so 1 baby led to 2 babies, led to 5 babies. I believe they had up to 10 in their farmhouse. Then they formed their not-for-profit corporation, and they started to build the facility that's located on Diagonal Road. So the farmhouse is no longer there, but that is the original site. It's pretty amazing. Mrs. Larlham was really very instrumental in the country in starting these formal programs for individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities. She was an advisor to President Kennedy, President Johnson, on and President Nixon, and everyone after that to help develop the program both at the national and the state level. So this is a little bit of a timeline. I'm not really going to go through all the detail. So starting off at the farmhouse in Manaway has now grown into an organization. We go to the next slide. That really has an impact across Northeast Ohio and across Central Ohio. So we serve about 1,400 individuals each year in our various programs. 10 counties, so we have locations in 10 different counties throughout, again, Northeast Ohio and Central Ohio. We have about 90 different locations, so group homes, adult day centers, and supported living locations. We have about 800 employees right now. About 2/3 of our employees operate here in Northeast Ohio, and about 1/3 of our employees are in Columbus. So we have a major presence in the Columbus area. Financial impact, our total revenues are about $60 million a year. Most of that, again, is Medicaid reimbursement. We do get grants and donations totaling about $4 million from different sources. And you can see the investment income. These are 2021 numbers. Our total operating expenses last year were about $54 million. And you can see how that's broken down. As you might imagine, our largest expense are employee wages and benefits. And that's one of our biggest challenges. We have been hit dramatically by the Great Resignation, folks leaving the workforce, as well as COVID. Right now, we have about 200 job vacancies at Hattie Larlham. Out of fully staffed, we're about 950 employees. The direct service professionals, the individuals that provide, the day-to-day services, those are the most challenging to fill. As you might imagine, it takes a unique individual who's willing to provide services to individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities. And I was talking to somebody earlier who actually worked and/or volunteered at Hattie, and we certainly thank you for that. And the pay's not that great. So one of our major efforts right now is we really do need to increase funding at the state level. And we have a major push occurring. That's a primary focus of my time right now. How do we convince the governor, our state legislature to increase funding? I'll just give you an example. The vent program that I mentioned, we get an add-on each day, $300 extra each day for any individual who's on a vent. That dollar amount was set in 2013. It is exactly the same amount today. So even though our costs are going up, the amount that we're being reimbursed by Medicaid has not gone up. That needs to increase. So the direct service professionals is a real tough position for us to fill right now. That's not unique to Hattie. Every DD provider in the state has a similar issue. The other tough to fill positions are nurses, both registered nurses and licensed practical nurses, and respiratory therapists. We need the respiratory therapists because of our vet program. The nursing positions, again, not unique to us. I was talking to a former colleague at University Hospitals the other day. Right now, UH has 900 nurse vacancies across their system. So obviously, Cleveland Clinic, SUMA, everybody's has similar challenges. So it's not surprising that, an organization like Hattie has a similar issue. We are one of the largest providers of DD services in Ohio. So it is pretty fragmented. So even at 60 million, which is not, it's a big number, but it's not large compared to, a health system or hospital. But we are one of the largest. So there's a lot of mom and pop type operations in the DD world. I think one of the things you'll see over the coming years is a consolidation. In the current environment, there are some economies of scale being larger. That's why you see health systems consolidating, banking, real estate, insurance, on and on and on. I think we'll see that in the DD world. We're actually involved in some discussions right now with several other providers about, is there a way to bring our organizations together to better deal with these issues. The next slide kind of gives you an overview of our statewide impact. So we do provide services in Cuyahoga County, Ashtabula, Medina, Summit, Portage, Mahoning, Stark, Holmes, Delaware, and Franklin. We've got the center in Manaway, the 5 group homes. We have 7 constant companions locations, 6 in Northeast Ohio and 1 in Columbus. So that kind of gives you an overview of our footprint across the state. The next slide kind of just gives an overview of our residential services. and I've already kind of touched on this. So we have, the number changes every once in a while. We have 72, I believe right now. Yeah, 72 supported living homes, group homes across the state. So again, these are homes maybe in your neighborhood. Individuals with disabilities may live there. It might be one person, two people, three, four, I think is the most in any one home. And then we're there 24/7 providing the support that they need. The Hattie Larlham Center for Children with Disabilities I already talked about. The namesake, the name of the center is called the Hattie Larlham Center for Children with Disabilities because of that history. But right now we have about 32 individuals who are actually our age 22 and younger. Our oldest resident is 60 years old. So the name center is somewhat as a misnomer. Because of the great medical care and support we provide, individuals are living a lot longer with their disabilities. So now we have moved into a much older population. To be honest, that's created some challenges for us from a medical care standpoint. I'm going to watch my time here. From a medical care standpoint, because again, our medical director is a pediatrician, but now he's dealing with adults. He does a great job. He's been with us for about 30 years. Dr. Grossberg is associated with university hospitals, but he's been able to build a team of adult care specialists who many cases donate their time to help meet the needs of the residents at the center, whether it's an orthopedic need, an adult oncology need, whatever the case may be. Next slide. Community services program. Again, I've already given you an overview. I've talked about our adult day locations or program. We also have a preschool, which is called the Dahlberg Gibson Learning Center. It's in Columbus. We have about 100 kids aged 6 months up to 5 years. We operate this preschool under a contract with the Franklin County Board of Developmental Disabilities. So we actually have teachers on board, again, trying to start the education process, for the little ones. And it's a great program. I always enjoy going down there and visiting with the kids. And again, there's about 100 kids that participate in that program. I want to talk about employment services. So many of the individuals with mild developmental or disabilities are certainly able to work, and we want to get them gainfully employed. That includes, getting them some job skills. So we have a very, very active employment services program. So it gives them the opportunity to, we work with them on their interviewing skills. We have various partnerships with many employers across Northeast Ohio and Central Ohio, in which these individuals can go work jobs, get some job skills, and then we help them apply for jobs and hopefully get gainfully employed. Two quick examples, one a longstanding program, another new program. We have a partnership with Gojo, the makers of Purell. One of their main plants is in Cuyahoga Falls. So we actually have an 8-person work team at Gojo who work the assembly line. I've actually visited there. I couldn't do the work. I mean, it comes too fast, but these 8 individuals work at Gojo's, and in many cases, Gojo has hired those individuals into a regular job. Well, I shouldn't call it a regular job because what they're doing is a regular job, but has hired them as a regular employee. We provide the job coach. So we have someone who's there to coach those folks through their training and while they're on the job. It's a very, very, very successful program. We have many examples of that across the Northeast Ohio and the Columbus area. A new program that's going to be starting October 1 is with Summa Health System. So we've partnered with our friends at Summa. Summa has a number of job openings. So this will enable us to connect individuals that we're providing services to. And so they will work at SUMA. I think I want to say it's a 16-week program. I take that back, 8-week program. So for 2 weeks, they may work in nutrition services. 2 weeks, they may work in laundry. And again, in most cases, these are going to be entry level type positions. In 2 weeks, they're going to work in maintenance or housekeeping, I should say, and then see if there's a connection. If it's a job that they can handle and SUMA is interested in hiring them, the goal then would be to help SUMA fill those positions from SUMA's standpoint and from our standpoint to get the folks we serve gainfully employed in the community. So we're very, very excited about that model. It will clearly be a win-win-win scenario, and that gets kicked off October 1st. So again, our employment services program, really does a great job and has won numerous awards and has been very, very successful in placing individuals in the community for gainful employment. So that's really a quick overview of Hattie. I know I'm somewhat biased, but it's a great organization. We do very, very important work. As I said earlier, the last couple of years have been pretty challenging because of COVID, and then the workforce issues, and then the funding issues. I'm proud to say that we actually came through COVID, I think, with flying colors. We certainly had COVID issues amongst our employees, but as far as the residents, so for example, at the center, so what COVID hit, March of 2020. So at the center, so over the last 2.5 years, our 124 residents, we've only had 11 individuals test positive, and that was during the November, December timeframe of last year. So I think our record is second to none. We immediately implemented a bunch of infection control protocols. We're still wearing masks at the center. All of our employees are fully vaccinated. That's a requirement by the feds, unless they have a valid religious or medical exemption. But we've really have focused on infection control, and I think that's made a difference. If you can imagine, severe cases of COVID would be pretty devastating to the individuals who live at the center, given their complex medical issues. So knock on wood, we've had a great record. A little bit higher incident of COVID out in the community homes, but no one, with any serious illness. I already talked about the staffing challenges. I've already talked about the funding challenges. The next slide just gives an overview of some of the programs that we are currently providing to help financially support the organization. So again, as I said, Medicaid, our total revenue is about 98% come from Medicaid. We do have a couple self-pay individuals, but we do need to raise funds in the community to help support the organization, to make the investments we need and meet our capital needs. I was talking to a couple of folks that before the meeting started, I believe one of your funding supports a number of years ago was for Hoyer lifts. So these are the lifts that they're connected to the wall, and it helps, get the individual up from their bed into their wheelchair and vice versa. Those are really helpful. That way the employees, don't get injured as they move folks back and forth. Those are the types of things that we're out there raising funds for. So we do have a Hattie Larlham Thrive K run walk. We have our golf classic actually this Friday at Sugarbush in Garrettsville. We have a big gala each fall, the Circle of Caring Gala. It's called Bright and Blue Gala. That's in October. We'll have a big volunteer celebration in November. We have various donor campaigns. So again, I'd love to be able to more closely connect with the Hudson Rotary Club and other Rotary clubs and Quantic clubs and other fraternal organizations out there to talk about ways that you might be willing to get involved with Hattie Larlham and provide us support either financially or through volunteers, because obviously that's all very, very welcome. So that's a quick overview of Hattie. Again, we're if anyone has an interest in touring the building again, or if you've never been there, you'd like to see what the center looks like, we'd be more than happy to do that. Also, if you want to visit one of our adult day programs, let me think, the closest one would be Stowe Constant Companions, which is on Norton Road in Stowe, just up the street. I think it's right across from the Giant Eagle in Stowe. We could, tour that location. You could see what it goes on there. So again, thank you very much for your attention. It's always my privilege to share information about Hattie with groups like y'all. And again, I appreciate being here. So with that, I'd be more than happy to, pretty good, 8:16, how'd I do? Okay, any questions about anything that I've covered or maybe haven't covered?
Okay. Steve, thanks for a very enlightening presentation. You say you do important work. That's putting it lightly. Very interesting. Under the employment services, I'm just curious, with their disabilities and maybe their not ability to handle their finances, when they are employed, is somebody at the center, are they entitled to that money? Is that their money if they're receiving care? Or how does that work?
Yes, they are paid. Most of the time it is a minimum wage. And quite honestly, the reason for that is because of their Medicaid eligibility. We have to be very careful as to the amount of resources that they're allowed to have without jeopardizing Medicaid. So in many cases, there may be a parent or guardian involved. Some of the individuals, they are their own guardians, so their disability is mild. But we do have social workers that get involved. So for example, in many of the residents at the center, we're the representative payee for Medicaid or for their Social Security if they're on disability. So yes, we are directly involved in helping them manage all of that. But it's interesting. We do get calls from parents or guardians on occasion saying, Billy or Susie's got too much money, and how can you, what do you need? If you come to the center, each of the bedrooms it does not have an institutional look. Every bedroom is different. Every resident is entitled to decorate the bedroom as they want. So maybe they need a new TV, or maybe they need new bedroom furniture. So some of the money that they have would be used for those purposes. And that would be for those folks that reside at the center. So I said to John earlier, it was great to see a familiar face. So I actually recruited Sarah to Robinson Memorial Hospital as one of our first pediatricians. We then later moved the program to Akron Children's, but so I've known Sarah and John for a long time. So good to see you.
Yeah, let me reiterate what John said as well. What you do is so very important, and we're grateful for that. I certainly am. I was thinking about, and when I first came to Hudson, 12, 13 years ago, there was a coffee shop. Hattie ran a coffee shop right across from the clock tower. And it was so wonderful to go in there and have so many of the residents and the persons being served as workers. And I wonder about like deployment. Do you have full deployment of people who are able to work? Or are there people sort of languishing, looking for work who don't have opportunities? Does that make sense in terms of,
Yes, I understand. As far as the opportunities, there's actually many opportunities out there. We just need to find the right connection. So, we're grateful, and thankfully many organizations step forward and are willing to employ individuals with disabilities. They're great employees. They like to go to work. They don't call off, and it helps diversify the workforce. So the giant eagles, winking lizard, companies like that are very, very welcoming. As far as the cafes that you referenced, so those were actually social enterprise businesses that Hattie was running themselves. And those were intended to be training programs for people we serve. I think at one point we had 6 or 7 of them across Northeast Ohio. They made a decision to close those locations before I started with Hattie. And in looking at the paperwork, quite honestly, we could not continue to support them financially. I'll just leave it that way. So even though we are not for profit, in order to fulfill our mission, we still need to have a bottom line. And so they were losing significant dollars, particularly the one in Hudson. I'm not sure who the landlord was, but the rent was pretty steep. And, it takes a lot of cups of coffee or donuts to pay the rent. And it just didn't make sense. So it's certainly mission driven, but it didn't make sense financially. So we've basically changed that model. And we're going more to the Gojo approach that I mentioned, or the Summa Health System, where we're not running the business. We're working with other businesses and providing the support. Because to be quite honest, what the hell did we know about running a coffee shop? So, right.
Thanks again, Steve, for coming. I have a question because it's related to a situation I had when I was growing up, and a neighbor that had a child that needed a lot of help. But you must have some parents that when they have a disabled child, some are in that 1/3 that go, we can't handle this, we can't do it. But what do you do when a parent says, we want to take care of this child, we're not going to institutionalize, if you will? Do you have programs to train parents to do some or all of what they need to do at home?
Yeah. So that would fit directly into what's called shared living. So again, they would have to be eligible for the service. So they would work with their SSA at their local county board. And in that case, what the county board would do would be to approve 1 hour a day or 5 hours a week or whatever in support. So child lives with mom and dad, but they need some help. We would then go in with our staff to provide that support. We would then bill and get reimbursed for that time. So that is the shared living program. Mom and dad, a relative, family member, can get whatever support they need. Yes. Correct. Yeah. So, I'm trying to think what a good example might be. Help with, making sure they take their meds and things like that. We would go through the training and help them sort through that. Right.
Again, thanks for your presentation. So first, I'm just going to address, there was a question earlier about the people coming over. They do require that you take all 3 because of transportation and probably an interpreter. So anyway, I do have a question now. Hattie Larlham. So I'm involved with the school district.
How long are they going to be here? Maybe I'll get them to work.
Oh, with the school district, so I have a couple of questions. One is so we have a volunteer program called Service Learning, and I think we may have kids who go to Hattie Larlham. If not, we probably do want to look at that opportunity for them. So I assume you do work with schools and that sort of thing.
Yes, we do. Now, to be honest, since COVID hit, we did limit, but we have volunteers from numerous school districts that, come to the center and help us, in many different ways. Yes.
Yeah. And also, I could say, so in our district, we do a lot of support for autism, and a lot of kids with developmental issues are actually wonderful employees because jobs that people consider repetitive, they actually love, very focused, not distracted, and really enjoy them. So that I could definitely testify to that. My other question is in regarding school districts. So how's the arrangement with the home district for those who are under 22 and under? How do you
So what school district are you with?
Hudson.
Oh, okay. The other thing I was going to mention before I answer your question is through our HR department, and I'd have to go back and check. I don't know if Hudson's on the list. I would hope they are. We are trying to work with the counselors, the guidance counselors, to share information about the jobs in the DD world. We do have a waiver. We can hire individuals as young as 16 years of age. There's a limited job that they can do at the center. So we're trying to get to those high school juniors and seniors and, maybe come work for us during the summer, get introduced to the, the IDD world, and maybe they'll think about a career. So as far as, this gets somewhat complicated. You probably know more of the details than I do. But anyone who lives at the center, their home district is ultimately responsible for their education. But we do contract with the Educational Services Center out of whatever their new name is. It used to be Colecchi County. Now I think it's Northeast Ohio. So the ESC does operate the school under a contract at the center. It's called Capstone Academy. It's a great relationship. So that's how we educate the folks. So we are located in the Crestwood School District. So it's a three-way agreement that includes Crestwood, ESC. Otherwise, these individuals would then have to go to their home district, and some districts have a higher ability to meet those needs than others, as you probably well know.
Yeah.
We are working right now. The Portage County Board of DD does operate the Happy Day School, but they are closing that school as of the end of this coming school year. And so we are working with them to have their folks attend the school at Hattie.
I'll make this quick. Your doggy daycare,
Yeah.
which I believe is attached to the Humane Society right there on 91.
Well, unfortunately, we did close that location.
Oh, okay. But where is it located now? then?
All right, so we had two, well, we used to have 3 doggy daycare locations. There's only one left. There's one in North Canton next near the Akron-Canton Airport. The Twinsburg, so here's a classic example. The Twinsburg doggy daycare was doing okay financially, breaking even. But our lease did expire. And as you might imagine, dealing with landlords, and the Humane Society was pretty reasonable and fair with us, but most are looking for longer term leases. But we're subject to the state budget cycle, which is a 2-year budget. So it's pretty hard for us to commit 3, 4, 5 years out on a lease, because I don't know for sure what our funding is going to be. So we made a business decision to close that. But again, that's another training site.
Okay, that was my
Correct.
question was how do you staff
Right.
that?
So we do have our job coach there. There is a manager, but it's primarily designed as a job training site. So we will assign individuals to work there. I didn't mention for these job training sites, it's a 2-year limit. So they can work in that at those types of locations for up to 2 years. And then the goal or the intent is, they should acquire job skills within that 2-year period to enable them to go out into the community and find regular employment. If it doesn't work out within 2 years, then we need to look at different opportunities or options for them.
Is that just a drop-off site, like a daily drop-off, or do they have to have a reservation per se to?
You need it's actually booming. You typically need a reservation, and we do house overnight, if that's what you're asking. Yeah.
Okay.
Before you get away, I have a task for you to do, and that is our Rotabuck raffle is a $10 payout today. So you pull out your tickets, and then Steve's going to draw one out for us here.
Well, not quite the Mega Millions.
It's not quite the Mega Millions, but it's close. And the number is, oh my word, 324-185-1857. Last 4 numbers, 1857.
That's why
Oh, I guess I better look in mine. 1857, nobody? Holy shnikes, how are you supposed to see this thing? Oh, guess who won? Yeah. Hold on, Steve, I need you to do one more thing then for me. So no, you have to, oh yeah, I'll let you draw. That'll be better. Yeah, you draw. There's one black one in there. If you pull that out, it'd be really nice. You won't, but go ahead and give it a shot anyway. You could. Let's see what happens. Oh. Not quite aware. Thank you so much.
Before you close,
Yes, go right
I
ahead.
just want to remind everybody that today is the first day of school. So there's a lot more kids out there running around in school buses. And the school's always had trouble with people passing the buses. So please be careful and stop for the school buses and watch out for kids.
Yes, watch out for those children. Thank you very much. You guys go. Have a great day. Be a great person. Make a difference in the world.